This happened 5 years ago. I was 29 and working as a surgeon in a busy hospital. I thought I was good at my job. I was confident, but then came the case that changed everything. It was a regular day when I got the young woman's chart. She was 23, healthy. But during the surgery, something went horribly wrong. I didn't want to think about it, but the memory haunted me. I'd pushed it away, but now it was creeping back. That I was working late one night, trying to catch up on paperwork. I found her file again. My hands were shaking as I opened it. The notes were scribbled, my handwriting messy. I don't remember writing half of it. Felt wrong. As I read, the lights above started flickering. I glanced up, feeling cold even in the warmth of the room. I thought I heard whispers. I tried to shake it off, but the unease settled in my chest. My mind raced with questions. What did I miss back then? I started asking my colleagues about that day. I needed to know if they remembered. Each one had a different story, but they all felt twisted. Things didn't seem right, one said. I could tell they were uneasy too. The more I learned, the more questions I had. That night, when I finally fell asleep, I dreamed about surgery. But it wasn't right. I saw my team, faces blurred, and the woman on the table. Screams mixed with laughter echoed in my mind. I woke up gasping, my heart racing. The next night, I went back to the hospital. Felt darker, the air thicker. I could hear my footsteps echoing down the empty hall. I wanted to leave, but I couldn't. I had to dig deeper. I walked past the operating rooms, peeking inside. Everything looked normal, but the chill never left. The whispers returned, softer this time. I focused harder. They were saying my name. I turned, but no one was there. My stomach twisted. Then I spotted them, an old pair of surgical gloves on a table. They shouldn't have been there. I stood frozen. Maybe someone had been there earlier. But the air felt heavy, like something was about to break. As I reached for the gloves, the whispers grew loud again. Why did you let her die? I jumped back. My heart raced. I scanned the room. There was no one. I'd never felt this way before. I left the gloves untouched, urgency clawing at me. I had to know more, but dread gnawed at me. This wasn't just a case. Felt like a warning. I'd thought I could handle the truth, but as I stumbled back into the hallway, I knew I was running out of time. There were answers swirling around me, but the deeper I dug, the further away I felt from the woman on that table. I had to confront it. But what if the past I dug up swallowed me whole? I barely slept that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the woman's face, the same pale skin, the same bright eyes that had once held so much life. I tossed and turned, my mind racing. Something had to give. In the morning, I decided to confront my department head. If anyone knew more about that day, it would be her. Dr. Lane was tough but fair, and I hoped she would help me. In my mind, I ran through the conversation a dozen times. The questions I'd ask, the answers I hoped she'd provide. When I arrived at her office, I found her deep in paperwork, the light of her desk lamp casting shadows over her tired face. She looked up, surprise flickering in her eyes. What brings you here? I need to talk about that case, about the young woman we lost. My voice came out more tremulous than I intended. Something isn't right. Dr. Lane shifted in her seat. That was a while ago. Why now? I keep thinking about it. I've been hearing things, whispers, voices. And I found these gloves. I hesitated, unsure if I should mention the gloves. They felt cursed, almost. Her expression darkened. We all had our doubts about that day. But, she paused, taking a breath. It's painful to revisit. Please, I have to understand. She sighed heavily, looking away. Fine. Just promise me you'll leave it alone afterward? I nodded, eager for answers. She pointed to a folder stacked carelessly on her desk. I kept this. The reviews, the notes. I thought it might help. As she handed me the folder, my pulse quickened. I opened it carefully, revealing reports and reviews from that long-ago surgery. But as I read through the notes, a name jumped out at me, a name I didn't recognize. Next to it, a scrawled handwritten note read, "Not fit for the OR." My stomach dropped. Who is this? I asked, pointing to the name. Dr. Lane hesitated, her jaw clenched. It's not important. Just some protocols. Protocols? If this was a protocol violation, it is important. I pressed, frustration mounting. He was a consultant during her case. Didn't he think you did he have anything to do with the errors? Was it his fault? I demanded, the air thick with tension. She stood up abruptly. You need to drop it. Trust me. There are things better left undisturbed. But I didn't trust her. Something had gone wrong that day, and now she was acting as if she wanted to protect someone. I wanted to push her further, but I felt the weight of her warning. I want to stop, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. You're going to regret it, she whispered, her demeanor suddenly cold. And with that, she turned away, leaving me with more questions than answers. As I left her office, a deep sense of dread settled over me. I knew I had to find out who that name belonged to. If my colleagues were hiding something, I had to get to the bottom of it before it was too late. That night, I returned to the hospital. I had a gut feeling that more layers would be waiting to be peeled back. But as I walked through the familiar, sterile halls, I felt that familiar chill. Someone was there. I could feel eyes on me, shadows lurking just out of sight. My heart started to race again. Then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw movement. Someone slipped into the break room. I hesitated but followed, driven by a nameless fear. When I entered, it was empty, but then I noticed a bloody surgical glove laying on the table. That's when I heard it. A voice whispered, "You should have left it alone." I froze at the sound of that voice, the words wrapping around me like a cold hand. My breath hitched. Who was there? I spun around, scanning the break room for signs of life, but it was just me and the glove. The room felt suffocating, the sterile air heavy. I approached the table cautiously, my eyes locked on the glove. The blood had dried, darkened in splotches against the stark white. I reached out, the dread pooling in my stomach. I couldn't just leave it there. Picked it up, fingers trembling. At that moment, footsteps echoed from the hallway. I dropped the glove back onto the table, heart pounding. The last thing I needed was to be caught here. I ducked behind the doorframe, praying not to be seen. A figure entered, a nurse I recognized, Sarah. She was always cheerful, but tonight her eyes were clouded, distant. "Why are you still here so late?" she murmured, almost to herself. She glanced around the break room, then stopped at the table. She didn't seem to notice the glove. My heart raced as I clutched the doorframe, desperate to hear more. She began tapping her fingers nervously against the counter. "I shouldn't be here," she whispered. "They'll notice." "Who will?" I couldn't help asking, stepping out from my hiding spot. Sarah jumped, then her eyes widened as she recognized me. "Oh, you scared me. I thought everyone was gone." I studied her, searching for answers in her expression. "You were talking about someone. Who's going to notice?" Her eyes darted to the glove, then back to me. "No one. You wouldn't understand." "Try me," I urged, stepping closer. She shook her head, a look of panic crossing her face. "You really need to go. You should have dropped this. What do you know?" My voice was firmer now, the urgency pushing back against my fear. "About the case or the name in Dr. Lane's notes. I have to know what happened." Sarah backed away, gripping the counter like it was a lifeline. "It's not safe. You don't know who you're dealing with. Just leave it be." Unsafe? Something clicked in my mind. Is this about the consultant? Did they do something? Her face paled. "Listen, I can't. I'm not part of this." Before I could press further, she rushed past me. Disappearing into the corridor, I felt the rush of panic fade, replaced by determination. I couldn't let this go. I had to unravel the truth, no matter how dangerous it might be. But now I had another piece to the puzzle. As I turned back to the bloody glove, my thoughts spiraled. I reached for my phone to record the glove as evidence but paused. Something caught my eye, a reflection in the window. A dark figure stood at the far end of the hallway, watching. I swallowed hard. My instincts screamed at me to run, but I knew I couldn't turn back. I had to find out what they wanted. I took a step toward the door, the tension in the air sharper than ever. I couldn't ignore it now. Whoever was following me, whoever was connected to that night, was closer than I realized. I took a deep breath and pushed open the door, heart racing. Shadows loomed in the hallway, but I had to know what was happening. I stepped out, straining to see the figure. They were still there, still watching. I felt exposed under their gaze, and my throat tightened. "Hello?" I called out, my voice sounding smaller than I intended. No response. I took another step forward, driven by a mix of fear and curiosity. If they were aware of the glove, I needed to confront them. The figure shifted slightly, their silhouette drifting further into the shadows. "Come closer," a low voice beckoned. It wasn't reassuring. Felt dangerous. I hesitated, weighing my options. I could retreat back to the break room and lock the door, but that seemed cowardly. Instead, I moved down the hallway, willing my legs to keep moving. "Do you know something about the glove? About the consultant?" A chuckle echoed softly. "You really shouldn't be here." The voice sent chills down my spine, but I pressed on. "Why? What happened 5 years ago?" I caught a glimpse of the figure's face beneath the dim light. It was someone I didn't recognize, a stranger dressed in scrubs. Their eyes narrowed, surveying me with an air of indifference. "You're poking around in places you don't belong." Grappling with my fear, I asked, "Are you here about the patients? The unresolved cases?" I desperately hoped this person had answers. Instead, they drummed their fingers against the wall, the sound haunting in the quiet. "Drop it. Leave while you can," they warned, a sudden edge of urgency creeping into their tone. "You have no idea who's involved." I sensed the threat hanging in the air like a storm cloud. I wanted to scream at them, to tell me everything, to explain the disarray that I felt wrapped around my mind. But maybe that's exactly what they didn't want. "Why should I trust you?" I snapped, frustration tinged with fear. The stranger stepped closer, the shadows shifting to reveal a flash of something shiny, a medical ID badge, or maybe a knife. "Because you're already in too deep. You think you can handle this, but you don't know who's watching." Then, in the blink of an eye, they turned and bolted down the corridor. I stood there, frozen, struck by a mix of dread and confusion. A knot tightened in my stomach. They had not only threatened me but also raised stakes higher than I'd imagined. I darted after them, my heart pounding in my ears. They were quick, slipping out of sight around the corner. I rounded the same corner and found myself in a dimly lit utility room. The door swung open, revealing an empty space filled with sterilization equipment, but no sign of the stranger. A flicker of movement caught my eye. A storage cabinet was ajar, swinging slightly as if someone had just rushed through. I took a hesitant step closer. That's when I saw it. A small, white folder peeking out from the edge. It was labeled with a name, one I recognized, someone tied to both the glove and the consultant. I reached for it, but a sudden crash echoed from behind me. I whipped around just as the lights flickered and the door slammed shut. My heartbeat quickened. I was not alone here anymore. The room felt heavier, like the walls were closing in around me. I turned slowly, searching for the source of the crash. My breath caught in my throat as I saw the door, solid and unyielding. There was no handle on the other side. I was trapped. My focus shifted back to the flickering lights. Shadows danced unnaturally, and I felt a creeping sensation crawling up my spine. I forced myself to refocus on the folder. It sat just within reach, glowing ominously under the fluorescent light. I had to know what was inside. I stepped towards it and grabbed the folder, trembling slightly. My heart raced as I opened it. Inside were pages filled with notes, charts, and patient records. My eyes scanned the names and dates. Everything seemed benign until I reached a report dated 5 years ago. My eyes widened. The patient was listed as unresponsive, yet the details mentioned an experimental procedure. The consultant's name was there, along with a strange notation about the glove. What had they done? I couldn't make sense of it. Just then, the lights flickered again, plunging the room into darkness for a heartbeat, then sputtered back to life. I jumped at the sudden presence behind me. A shadow had crossed the doorway, and I felt a chill rush through me. "Who's there?" I cried, my voice echoing in the claustrophobic space. I was met with silence, thick and oppressive. And then, the voice returned, low and menacing. You shouldn't have opened that. I whipped around, clutching the folder to my chest. The stranger from before emerged from the shadows, their face partially obscured but their intent clear. I warned you. Now you'll have to pay the price. My heart raced as I searched for an exit. Panic surged within me. What do you mean? I don't even know what's happening. Some things are better left buried, they said, taking a step closer. If they find you here, they'll want you silenced. The implication crashed over me like a wave. I clutched the folder tighter, desperation bubbling inside. What does this have to do with me? The stranger paused, their eyes studying me intently. You have the glove. It has a power you don't understand. Alongside the cases it's tied to. You're in danger. They're coming for you. Before I could respond, an alarm blared loudly from somewhere outside the room, an urgent warning that pierced the dimness around me. My stomach dropped. This was it. Run, the stranger hissed, stepping back into the shadows. Now, as if on cue, the lights flickered again, and the door began to creak open. I felt a surge of instinct kick in. I bolted past the opening, adrenaline coursing through my veins as I raced down the hallway. Behind me, I heard a voice shout, echoing through the hall, "Stop her." I didn't look back, only focusing on the path ahead. Desperation fueled my steps, but I could already feel the weight of their presence closing in. I had to escape and find answers that could be deadly. Someone was after me, and they were not going to stop. I sprinted down the corridor, my heart pounding in my chest. The alarm blared louder, and the echo of footsteps chased me from behind. I turned the corner sharply, eyes darting for any sign of an exit. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting a harsh glow on the sterile walls around me. I skidded to a halt in front of a heavy door marked staff only. My hands trembled as I pushed it open. The room beyond was dark, but I could see shapes of medical equipment through the dim light. It smelled of antiseptic, thick and suffocating. Just as I stepped inside, a hand gripped my shoulder. I whipped around, prepared to fight, but it was only a nurse, wide-eyed and terrified. "Please, you shouldn't be here," she gasped, glancing back toward the hallway. She wore scrubs, but something in her demeanor told me she knew more than she let on. "Who are they? Why are they after me?" I demanded, feeling my voice rise in desperation. "They know you have the folder," she whispered urgently. "You're in serious danger. There are people who want to erase everything that has happened." I clutched the folder tighter, the weight of it suddenly feeling much heavier. What happened 5 years ago? What's with the glove? I can't explain everything now. She pulled me further into the room, away from the door. But I can tell you one thing. The experiment, it didn't just affect the patients. Created something else. Something dangerous. What do you mean? The panic in my chest clawed at me. I couldn't process this. My mind raced with fragmented pieces. Before she could respond, the alarm stopped abruptly, leaving a menacing silence in its wake. I recoiled, instinctively looking toward the exit. Through the door, I heard the shuffling of boots, voices now hissing commands. They were getting closer. The nurse's eyes widened again, fear replacing her calm demeanor. "We need to get you out. Now, where do we go?" I whispered, desperation flooding back. "There's an access tunnel through the storeroom, but we have to be quick." As we moved to the back of the room, I could hear more footsteps. They were right outside now. My eyes darted around, searching for anything that could help. That's when I saw it. A small ventilation grate tucked away in the corner. It looked just big enough for me to climb through. "What about the tunnel?" I urged. "There's no time," she said frantically. "You have to escape. They can't find you with the glove." Before I could argue, she shoved the folder into my hands. "Go. I'll hold them off as long as I can." I hesitated, wanting to help her, but I felt the pressure of time urging me on. With one last look at her, I tore off towards the grate. My body barely fit through, but I pushed myself into the narrow space, barely breathing. I could hear her yelling at whoever was outside, pleading for them to turn back. The tiny passage was dark and cramped, and the only sound I could hear was the pounding of my heart. I crawled forward, adrenaline pushing me with every movement. I knew I had to get away before it was too late. But even as I wriggled deeper into the darkness, I felt a nagging thought pull at me. What exactly was the glove capable of? And what had the experiment really unleashed? Suddenly, the tunnel opened up into a larger space, and there, glaring at me, was a figure I had not expected to see. The figure before me was tall and imposing, casting a long shadow that flickered in the dim light. As I squinted to see better, my stomach twisted. It was Dr. Kellen, the lead researcher from the facility, a man I thought I'd left behind years ago. "What are you doing here?" I blurted, the words escaping before I could stop them. He stepped closer, his expression unreadable. "I could ask you the same question," he replied coolly. "That folder is dangerous, you know." "I know." I shot back, my pulse racing. "But I have to understand. What happened 5 years ago? What did you do?" Dr. Kellen's face softened momentarily, but it quickly turned cold again. "You shouldn't have come back. You're not safe here. They will find you if you make noise." I glanced over my shoulder, feeling the weight of his words. "Who are they?" I demanded. "And why are you helping me?" His eyes darted, seemingly calculating the risks. "Because, against my better judgment, I believe you deserve the truth." "Then tell me." I insisted. He hesitated, the tension in the air palpable. The experiment was designed to help those with terminal illnesses. But it backfired. There was a side effect. Some patients mutated. They were supposed to be contained, but a few escaped. The glove you have, it's a key. They need it to control what was created. I felt my head spin. Control what? You mean there are more of these things? Yes, and they aren't what you think, he said, his voice low. They've learned, evolved in ways we didn't anticipate. If you keep that folder, they will come for it. And for you. What do you mean, come for me? I asked, fear creeping in again. Before he could reply, a loud crash echoed behind me in the tunnel, followed by hurried footsteps. My heart raced. They were coming. "Get away from the entrance," he yelled, pulling me deeper into the room. I looked around, frantic. There had to be another way out. My eyes landed on a darkened corner, a doorway partially hidden behind a stack of medical supplies. "What about there?" Dr. Kellen nodded, urging me forward. "Go. I'll hold them off as long as I can." "No, I can't leave you," I protested. "Just go," he shouted, his voice filled with urgency. With a deep breath and a final glance back, I bolted toward the doorway. As I slipped through, the sounds of struggle echoed behind me. I pressed myself against the wall, breathless and terrified. On the other side was another corridor, this one dimly lit and narrow. It felt endless, stretching in both directions. I had to decide, left or right. Each choice whispered uncertainty, and with it, the heavy awareness that someone was still hunting me. I took a shaky step left, haunted by the knowledge that the glove wasn't just a tool. It was a beacon drawing danger closer. As I moved deeper into the darkness, I felt that something was watching me. Then came the whisper, barely audible, but I recognized the voice. "You won't get away this time." I froze, blood running cold. I wasn't alone. The darkness pressed in around me as I hesitated, my heart thumping in my chest. I strained my ears, trying to determine the source of the whisper. Was it my imagination, or had they really found me? I moved along the corridor, each step echoing like a warning. My hands trembled as I gripped the folder tighter. Within its pages lay secrets I wasn't sure I wanted to uncover. But the urgency of the moment pushed me forward. I needed answers about the experiment, about my past. Suddenly the whisper came again, louder this time. "You won't get away this time." I turned around, searching the shadows behind me. Nothing. Just a cold corridor stretching endlessly. I continued, my instincts screaming at me to hurry. Then I saw it. A flicker of movement in the corner of my eye pulled my attention. Darting toward the left side of the corridor, I spotted a figure. It was quick, almost too quick, slipping into another passageway. Panic surged within me. Had they sent someone to retrieve me? I had to be smart. I couldn't let whatever it was find me. Keeping low, I pressed against the wall, my breath shallow. I scanned the surrounding area for an escape route. To my left, an open doorway beckoned into what? I didn't know. But I had to take the chance. I crouched down and darted inside. The room was filled with a mix of equipment and old files scattered across the floor. The stench of disinfectant lingered, mixing with something more putrid that turned my stomach. As I searched the room, hoping to find something useful, my eyes landed on a couple of glass vials on a nearby table. Labels were peeling off, but I could make out some named subjects from the experiment. My mind raced. These could hold clues. Just as I reached for one, a loud crash echoed from the corridor. The sound jolted me back to reality. I quickly pocketed a vial, knowing I might not have time to evaluate it. With a quick glance, I saw one more thing: a map of the facility stuck to the wall. I could see various rooms labeled with ominous titles: containment, testing, disposal. Suddenly, footsteps hammered nearby, growing louder. I had little time. I studied the map for an escape route. My eyes traced a path to a lesser-known exit at the far end of the building. It would be risky, but there was no choice. That I stood up, ready to dash back to the corridor. My heart pounded in my chest as I gripped the vial tightly. I began to retrace my steps when I heard a voice close by, clear and full of malice. "You think you can run?" I whirled around. The figure was back, blocking the exit. The faint light illuminated a face twisted with anger. They had found me. Time to put an end to this, they sneered, taking a step closer with a glint of something sharp in their hand. I gripped the folder and prepared to fight or flee. I couldn't go back now, not without knowing the truth. In that split second, I made my decision. My body surged forward, ready to break through whatever barrier lay ahead. Then everything went dark. The world around me shifted, leaving me disoriented. I blinked, trying to adjust to the sudden blackness. I fought to sense my surroundings. Had I lost consciousness? No, that couldn't be. I hadn't given up that easily. The darkness was thick, but I could hear it now, the faint sound of my pursuer's footsteps retreating. I waited, breathless, straining to catch any sign of life beyond my immediate space. The air felt colder, and a chill ran up my spine. I wasn't safe yet. I reached into my pocket and felt the glass vial. It was still there. I clutched it, my only connection to the truth, my only weapon against the looming threat. I needed to find a way out. As I focused my hearing, I realized there were other sounds: mechanical whirring, the echo of distant voices, and the faint hum of lights somewhere above. Taking a deep breath, I slowly moved forward. My fingers brushed against rough walls as I inched into the unknown. Each step was deliberate. I could feel panic bubbling within me, but I refused to give in to fear. I had come too far. Then I noticed a sliver of light breaking through the darkness ahead. I slid closer, the glow growing brighter. I could make out shapes. A doorway. If I could get through, maybe I would find a way to escape. I pushed the heavy door open, the hinges creaking in protest. Light flooded in, revealing a narrow, sterile hallway. The walls were stark white. The floor gleamed too clean for a place built on secrets and fear. Just as I stepped inside, I heard voices approaching from behind me. I ducked into the nearest room, hoping it was empty. I moved quickly but quietly, heart racing. The room didn't look like much, just more equipment, flickering monitors and scattered tools. I spotted a computer terminal wedged between two filing cabinets. It was old but operational. In a moment of instinct, I dashed toward it and began typing. I had to access information on the experiment, on my connection to this place. I scrolled through files, desperation clawing at me. That S when I saw it. My name listed among subjects with a date beside it: 5 years ago. There was a report attached, marked urgent. My fingers trembled as I clicked on it, revealing terms I didn't quite understand but which sent chills down my spine. Suddenly, the door swung open. I turned just in time to see the figure my pursuer standing silhouetted in the doorway. Their eyes were wild, and I frantically hit the keys, but I froze when I heard my own name spoken from their lips. laced with venom. Do you really think you can hide from the truth? The threat hung in the air like poison. Panic surged through me. I couldn't get caught, not now, not when I was so close. I had to act fast. I lunged to the side, searching for a way out, the file still on the screen pleading for me to finish reading it. But I couldn't let myself be consumed by the details, not now, as I darted past them. I realized I'd have to confront whatever dark past awaited me. I had only moments to escape, but the weight of my identity loomed larger than ever. I bolted down the hallway, adrenaline fueling my flight, desperate for answers and even more desperate to survive. The shadows closed in behind me as I plunged deeper into the facility, following the dim glow of exit signs that beckoned like lifelines. My pulse raced, each thud of my heart sinking to the footsteps that echoed ominously in the distance. I couldn't tell if they were pursuing me or merely echoing the chaos I had unleashed within these sterile walls. I ripped through another door, throwing myself into a narrow corridor lined with glass. I stumbled past rooms filled with machinery and forgotten charts, their contents whispering secrets I was not yet ready to hear. Felt surreal, running for my life in a place where I had once saved lives. That irony made my stomach twist, and I pondered. How could I have been part of this? Outside, alarms blared, an urgent warning that sent static jolts through my nerves. I pressed forward, each footfall punctuated by the adrenaline that coursed through my body. Dawn was creeping closer, its light creeping through the windows in pinpricks, but I didn't have time to enjoy the fading night. Gripping the folder and the vial tightly, I pushed through a set of heavy double doors labeled Exit. The hinges creaked in protest, but I burst through and was instantly hit by the cool air outside. They didn't expect me to come this way. I glanced back, expecting to see my pursuer, but the hallway was empty. My heart raced. Maybe I had a moment to regroup, but as I stepped outside, I froze. There were figures everywhere, guards in dark uniforms, eyes scanning the area like hawks, their stance sharp and poised. They were waiting, anticipating my next move, and I suddenly felt the panic swell in my chest. This wasn't over. They had trapped me here. Swallowing my fear, I backed away, searching for another way out, when I heard a voice call from behind me. You can't run forever. The glove binds you. It was the stranger I had encountered earlier, but they were only a few yards away, a shadow slinking toward me, face hidden in the shadows of their hood. Get away from me, I shouted, feeling a surge of defiance. I wasn't going to let them corner me now. Listen to me, they pressed, voice desperate. If they catch you with it, you'll be just another experiment. There's something you don't understand. Then explain. I shot back, angry and frightened. What do you want from me? They want your blood, the figure said, their eyes gleaming with intensity. You're linked to everything: the patients, the glove, the experiment. You were chosen, but you can change it. I hesitated, their words swirling in my mind. Was this just another trick? I felt knowings crawling under my skin, like fragments of a forgotten truth. I took a step back, glancing around for a retreat. They were closing in from both sides. As the guards moved forward, I felt a deep sense of dread. But then, I remembered the vial. I pulled it out, holding it high. Stay back, I yelled, but the strength of the effect was uncertain. I don't know what this is, but if you come closer, I will use it. The guards paused, the tension ratcheting up another level. The stranger smirked. A desperate threat. Won't help you now. You don't know what you hold, do you? You need to figure it out before it's too late. In that charged moment, an explosive idea lit up my mind. It was convoluted, but I felt a flicker of clarity. Tell me how it ends, I shouted at the stranger, suddenly resolute. How does all of this stop? How do I make them listen? The figure took a step closer again, undeterred. Embrace the chaos, and make them see you as something more than they created. You have the key. It opens doors to possibilities beyond what they planned. And then, without another word, they slipped into the shadows, leaving me feeling more terrified than before. I turned to the guards, adrenaline still coursing through my veins. I had to make a choice. With my heart pounding, I threw the vial against the ground. It shattered, sending a cloud of cold mist swirling around me, a protective veil just as chaos rippled through the air. The guards hesitated, their attention diverted by the sudden eruption of energy. I used the moment of chaos to dart through an opening between them, fueled by the flickering light of instinct and desperation for freedom. As I ran towards the nearest vehicle, I heard faint whispers, a chorus that twisted around my mind like smoke, blurring the line between what was real and what was born from fear. And the distance, dawn broke, offering a glimmer of hope and clarity. I crashed through a tangle of cars parked haphazardly, hoping to find one unlocked. But as I fumbled through my options, the voices returned, some familiar, some strange, and the weight of their intentions fell on me like a shroud. I found an open door, only to discover a figure lying unconscious in the driver's seat. It was a nurse from before, but now her face was pale, the life squeezed from her. The glove was on her wrist. I swallowed the bile rising in my throat. I had no time to think about the implications as I jumped in behind the wheel. I shifted into gear, heart racing as I peeled away, leaving the facility behind. But the questions remained, bubbling beneath my skin. Who had I really been? What had been done to me? The whispers echoed, contentiously blending with every unrelenting beat of unanswered questions. I could feel the eyes of whoever had been after me still watching, lurking just enough under the surface to keep their presence known. Perhaps this was just the beginning of something far more complicated. But as I drove towards the horizon, I knew one thing was certain. I was no longer that surgeon confined to a single path. I had embraced the chaos, and the world ahead stretched infinitely, a labyrinth of shadows awaiting my next move. I had survived this far, but I didn't know if I was truly free. I didn't know what else awaited me. But deep down, I knew that I was willing to find out.